Okay, the sun is like kind of setting, and I put on eyeliner for like the first time ever, but I just want to talk about the books I read this year. So I'm going to. So a few summers ago, summer 2019, I get my daily CoStar horoscope, and it says, nobody cares about how many books you've read. Well, I've decided that everyone now does, and I didn't read back then, so that was like a silly little thing to get. But now I do, and I'm gonna make it everyone's problem. So, I have my computer over here that I'm gonna be glancing at because you think I can remember 60 books at once? I can't. Anyways, I just got back into reading this year. I saw a TikTok from a Calgary library, and they were talking about like books that you should read if you like this movie or something like that. And I commented, because I was in my commenting phase, I commented, oh, too bad, like I can't read physical books. And they go, oh, don't worry, we got audiobooks online. And I was like, oh, my public library probably has audiobooks online. And that's when I discovered Libby. I love Libby. Alright, number one is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. And everyone knows it. It's a movie. It's a thriller. It's about a woman who goes missing, and her husband is the number one suspect. I loved it. It got me into reading, and I owe everything to that book. And I love Amy Dunn. And I had heard about like the cool girl like monologue. Like I'd heard that before, so it was nice to see like the origin of it. Then History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. It's the same author that did They Both Die at the End. I haven't read that, but it was really sad. It's about a boy whose ex-boyfriend dies, and he's like, I think they're like 16, 17, and just like navigating that, you get flashbacks when he was alive, and it's just very sweet, and Wade deserves better. Next, Normal People by Sally Rooney. Of course I read that, like obviously, and obviously I loved it. One of my favorite books of the year. It's about two Irish students, like from high school to college, and so I know some people like to hate on it, but no, I love it. I don't care, because I don't think that the miscommunication is the plot device. Then I read The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. So it's about mass incarceration and very educational, very good. Next is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and I loved this one too. I liked basically all the books that I read, just so you know. This one is my most hated book of the year. The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. I hated it. I hated it. I don't even know why I read it, because like most of these, I know that I either found it on like BookTube or BookTok or like with my friends. This, I don't know where it came from, and obviously it's like a popular book. There's like 2 movies. Spoiler, but don't read it, so it doesn't take the spoiler and then never think about this book again. So it's about this man who can time travel, but he has no control over when he time travels, and he just goes to the past. Oh man. So he goes to the past, and he ends up in this like child's backyard. He realizes, because he keeps time traveling back to this place, that this is his wife, like as a child, his later wife. But think about this. So they start like dating, and he has like his whole rule that he's like, no, I'm not gonna sleep with her until you're 18, but then he like doesn't. She's growing up with this weird man who shows up naked in her backyard like once a week. And it's like a boring story. I did cry near the end. I did cry. Because there's a poor child involved. Also, I don't know like good writing. So like none of this is about like how well it's written, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. Favorite, oh I actually have this one. I didn't read it physically, but I bought it after. And I love it. It's my favorite Sally Rooney. I haven't read Beautiful World, Where Are You? Where Are You? Yet, but it's over there, and I will read it. And I love Conversations with Friends. It's about like 2 friends who have conversations, and one of them becomes like the mistress, and oh, it's just, oh, I love it. I love it. I don't even know how to describe it without spoiling it. Next is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Yeah, Chbosky. I loved it. I've never seen the movie, but like I knew I would love it, and I did love it. And I did think it was like a pretty accurate high school experience, but every time I say that about like anything, people are like, no, it's not. But I think it is. Then, my first Taylor Jenkins read, Daisy Jones and the Six. I did not enjoy this one as much as I think I would now that I've read Seven Husbands and Malibu Rising. It's about this band. It's like loosely based on Fleetwood Mac, and it's told through like an interview process, and the audiobook is very good because they have different voices for each character, and it's about like the relationships between the band members and with drugs and music, and oh, it's great. Loved it. I have fonder memories than I did at the time when I was reading it. Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. This was, I read it because Harry Styles recommended it, and I didn't enjoy it. I like can acknowledge that it's a good book, but it was just like a lot of things that did not make me feel good. And sometimes I just want to feel good when I'm reading. At least for like part of the book, I want to feel good about it. Then The Kiss Quotient by Hwang. I loved this book. I thought it was very cute and fun. I don't really remember this book. I don't really remember all of them. I remember the plot, but I don't really remember what I'm referencing in these notes that I'm now talking about. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This book, I enjoyed it at the time, and then I was like, I don't think I'm really gonna like think about this too much. No, I think about it literally all the time. It was like one of the only sci-fi books that I read, if not the only sci-fi book I read. And I loved it. I've never seen the movie, but I don't want to because I've heard it's bad. Then I read How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. I love audiobooks that are read by the author, and this is one of them. Most of the nonfiction ones that I read, if not all of them, were narrated by the author. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. Then Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. So this is like Love, Simon, the movie, which again, haven't seen, but I thought it was cute. I did a little short one, 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. Is some letters from a poet, Helene Hanff, who she writes them to this bookstore on 84 Charing Cross Road to see like if she has any of these books. Then a reread, my only reread because I don't read, or I didn't read until this year. So, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. We all know it, we all love it. Then Becoming by Michelle Obama. I feel like I had to. I feel like it was kind of a rite of passage. I had to read it. It was long and it made me feel every emotion, and it was good. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. So on the Goodreads it says, a beautiful and distinguished family, a private island, a brilliant damaged girl, a passionate political boy, a group of 4 friends, the Liars, whose friendship turns destructive, a revolution, an accident, a secret, lies upon lies, true love, the truth. I was really looking forward to this, and I enjoyed it, but I think my expectations were higher than they should have been. Then my favorite romance of the year, up there with my favorite book of the year, Beach Read by Emily Henry. I love that book. I love it. It's about these 2 authors, a romance author and I think he's fiction author. It's enemies to lovers, and they were enemies in high school, and then she moves, and then it ends up being in a house, in her dad's house, and it's about grief, and it's The Secret History by Donna Tartt, but it's Roxy's favorite book, and I don't think I'm smart enough for it. Like, I'm sure it's a good book. I'm sure it's a good book. Not for me. Not for me. I was confused. One of Us is Lying, and then I also read One of Us is X, both by Karen M. McManus. The show just came out, haven't watched it, but I do plan on it. I doubt it's gonna be good. And it says on the thing that it's Breakfast Club meets Pretty Little Liars, and that's exactly what it is. Then The Skin We're In by Desmond Cole. The Goodreads description of it is a bracing, provocative, and perspective-shifting book from one of Canada's most celebrated and uncompromising writers, Desmond Cole. The Skin We're In will spark a national conversation, influence policy, and inspire activists. This was really good. Expectation by Anna Hope. This is another one, I have no idea where I got the idea to read this, because I look at my Goodreads, no one I'm friends with on Goodreads has read it. I don't hear about it anywhere. Maybe I saw like one TikTok about it and was like, let's go. But I feel like I'm just a bit too young for it. It's not the stage of life that I'm in, or honestly really plan to be in. It's about 3 sisters who are they're all in their adult life, but in kind of different phases, and like their relationships. And I enjoyed the sibling dynamics between them, but like one of them is really struggling with like kids, and that's just not something I relate to at all. Then my first Murakami, Men Without Women by Haruki Murakami. This is a selection of short stories. The first one was my favorite, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite one of his that I read this year. Then Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really fun and good, and I read it pretty fast, but I thought it was endearing and just great. Then The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I was so looking forward to this because I've heard such great things from people who I like trust their opinions on romances, and I didn't really like it. I thought it was cheesy. I thought he was annoying. I thought she was kind of annoying. I wrote kind of cheesy, very cheesy. His room is painted robin's egg blue because of her eyes. That is creepy. The Smurf thing is so cringe. I don't remember what I was talking about there, but I'm sure it was. And he calls her shortcake like all the time. The next is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I am not exaggerating when I say I don't remember a single thing about this book. I don't remember character, I don't remember the setting, I don't remember the plot. I genuinely don't remember a single thing, so I'm not really going to say anything else. But I know it's like a sci-fi fantasy thing. Then The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Of course, and I loved it. I was expecting to like bawl my eyes out because that's what everyone on TikTok was saying, but I didn't do that. But I really enjoyed it. Then I read Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. Required reading. It's about intersectionality and feminism and black feminism, and it's amazing. And yeah, like I said, required reading. Then, in what seems like nearly the opposite, A Very Punchable Face by Colin Jost. It's his memoir. If you don't know Colin Jost, he's host of Weekend Update on SNL, married to Scarlett Johansson. Nothing is about Scarlett Johansson. She's mentioned like a couple times, but it's just like stories, and I'm a sucker for SNL. And so I loved it. There's so many SNL like behind the scenes stories, and it was funny, and it's narrated by him, and he like went to Harvard and majored in like literature or something, or like Russian literature or something. So he's like a good writer. So it's a good book. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Amazing romance. It's so horny, and I love both of the characters. Next is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I think about this book daily. It's about these 2 women, these twins, who are biracial, and one of them is much more white passing than the other one, and just the differences in their lives, and then we go into their kids, and the stories intertwine, and it's so good. I gave it to my dad for his birthday because I was like, you need to read this because this is so good, and then my mom read it. You remember when I said that I tried to get into sci-fi fantasy, but it failed every time? Yeah, this is attempt number 2 and failure number 2. The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't remember anything. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't like it as much as Beach Read, and the whole time I was comparing it to Beach Read. I said that it made me so giddy, which it did. It took a bit longer to get into, like I wasn't super invested in the characters right away, but like I have a crush on Poppy. I said both of them, but like Poppy's the one that stuck with me. I thought she was actually funny. Like I would chuckle at the jokes that she would make in the book. Great, loved it. Cried happy tears. Then Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. I said it's escapism at its finest. I like listened to a bunch of it while I was in line to get my second dose of the vaccine. So that's what I think of every time I think of it. It was good, and like I'm glad they had a sequel, and it was interesting, and it was fun, and yeah, it was great. Probably my favorite book of the year, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obviously, like everyone talks about it, and I think it deserves every hype that it got. The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. I didn't get into it as much as I hoped I would. It was really good, but I think it was a bit too smart for me, and that's why I didn't get into it as much as I had hoped I would. But still, amazing. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Loved it. It's a murder mystery set on an island of Anne Arundel wedding. Such Fun Age by Kylie Reid. Again, really enjoyed it. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love this. It's about these 4 siblings and their parents, one of who was a like very famous rock star, and it's a and they're all like secrets, and it all culminates in their annual party on their like big Malibu mansion, and it ends in a flames. And it's so good. It's so good. This is a very short one. Required reading. It literally says it. There's a quote from Tegan and Sarah on the front that says everyone should read this, or required reading, or something like that, and I agree. I'm Afraid of Men by Vivek Shraya. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I thought it was light and cute and fun. It's a romance between President's son and the Prince of England. Norwegian Wood by Hercule Murakami. I love this one. Then The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. This one I rented from the library. I think I saw a TikTok about it and I was like, oh, like, yeah, I should read that. About this woman who, she's like works in cloning. She finds out that her husband is having an affair with a clone of herself. Kind of sci-fi, girl boss. It's definitely girl boss. And it's fun. And it's kind of sad and kind of interesting. Does that make you want to read it? Me saying random adjectives over and over again? Then I read Dune by Frank Herbert. I really wanted to see the movie, but I wanted to read the book first. It's like a 24-hour audiobook, and I had a week to read it, and I retained like 10% of what happened. I then saw the movie, and I was like, oh, okay, got it. And I enjoyed it. Not really for me, like I'm not obsessed, but I'm glad I read it for sure. Then Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Oh, one of my favorite books. I listened to Sentimental in the City, which is Dolly Alderton and Carolina Donahue talking about sex in the city, and I love that podcast, so I was like, gotta read her book. And I own Ghosts. I haven't read it yet, but Everything I Know About Love, it's just like stories from her life. I cried. She just talks about like mental health and body image and love and relationships and family and alcohol and partying, and I thought they're fun stories, but also like relatable and like deep. I don't know, it was great. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I liked this more than I thought I would, because it's about this like rich woman taking a bunch of drugs and essentially sleeping for a year. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't realize before, but it's set in like 2000 to 2001, which I think is a very interesting time to read about. I mean, for obvious big major world events, but also because I was born in 2001, so it's kind of interesting to see like, ooh, this is from right when I was born. Another one of my favorites, Trickmere by Gia Tolentino. Amazing. It's a series of essays. I literally want everyone I know to read it. Rented it from the library, and I was like, I really want to own this because I want to highlight every single line. Like, I'm probably going to buy it at some point and then go through and annotate it, and I am not an annotator. Like, that is not my thing. It just feels like work. But with a book like that, I was like, yeah. Like, every other thing she said. And like there's a whole one about reality TV. I was like, how did you know me so well? Maybe it's because I'm like a lot of other people. But my favorites were The Iron Internet, 7 Scams, and We Come from Old Virginia. Then I read Disfigured by Amanda Leduc. I'm sorry. But it's about like disability and fairy tales, and how like the culture of disability is reflected in the fairy tales that we grew up with. And it's very interesting. I started reading The Heart Principle by Helen Hwang, and as soon as I started this, I was like, I love this. This is gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so cute. I'm already invested. And then I got a concussion, so I couldn't read physical books, and then I haven't picked it up since, until literally just now when I just showed you. Then A History of My Brief Body by Billy Ray Belcourt. Amazing nonfiction stories of his life. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This is now, we're in my I was concussed and listening to audiobooks like it's nobody's business, but also making the weirdest choices of which audiobooks to listen to. So the first one was The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. I listened to most of this in the hospital. It was great. It's like a little, like kind of murder mystery. Basically, this woman's new husband goes missing when the tech company that he works at gets like taken down for fraud, and they go all throughout the country, her and his daughter, so her stepdaughter, to like figure it all out. The Sunken Motel by Simone St. James. It's like a ghosty. I thought it was going to be genuinely scary because it was listed as a horror. It's not really scary, and it's about this woman who leaves home to go to New York, and she gets stuck in this random town, and she's working the night shift at the Sunken Motel when there's ghosties, and then she disappears. And then it's her niece, like years later, going back to this place trying to figure out what happened to her. And I did enjoy the twists, but it was so much longer than it needed to be. A lot of people on Goodreads was saying it's written like a YA, and it absolutely is, and I mean that in a bad way. They like spell out everything over and over again. I'm like, I know, you already told us this. Why am I hearing about it again? Then The Other Black Girl by Sakia Delilah Harris. I could not stop reading to this. I cannot stop listening to this.
26-year-old editorial assistant Nella Rogers is tired of being the only black employee at Wagner Butts. Fed up with the isolation and microaggressions, she's thrilled when Harlem-born bred Hazel starts working in a cubicle beside hers. They've only just started comparing natural hair care regimens, though when a string of uncomfortable events elevates Hazel to office darling and Nella is left in the dust. Then the notes begin to appear on Nella's desk. Leave Wagner now.
Seeing a lot of the criticism about it is that nothing really happens in the first like 3 quarters, and then everything happens in the last quarter, which like is kind of true, but I consumed it so fast that I didn't really care. If I Never Met You by Mary McFarlane, this was not the cutesy romance I wanted. More than half the book was spent talking about our main character's ex, and I was like, I don't care. Then The Idiot by Elif Batuman. At first I thought I wasn't smart enough, but once we got to Paris, I loved it. That's what I wrote when we were still set in Paris. Then I took it back. I need more plot. I'm sorry, I found it boring. I'm sure it's well written though. That's what I wrote, and I stand by that. Theory of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. It's about the year when her husband and her daughter dies, and it's all about grief, and it's beautifully written. My Pretty Little Liars. Watch out for that video, because I've been like working on it a lot, and I hope it's gonna be good, but I'm gonna do videos talking about each arc of the Pretty Little Liars series. So in 2021, I listened to Pretty Little Liars, first one, flawless, and then I started Perfect. But we're not gonna talk about that because we're gonna have a whole video about it. So that is 60 completed books in 2021. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you want more book content. I doubt you do though, because I'm not good at describing books. Bye.